REST API testing, negative testing. Real-time interview questions and answers for negative scenarios in REST API testing part_07. Question 1. What are negative test cases in REST API testing? Answer. Negative test cases validate how the API behaves with invalid or unexpected inputs. The goal is to ensure the API handles errors gracefully and returns appropriate error messages and status codes. Examples: sending a required field as null, sending wrong data types, example, string instead of integer, using invalid HTTP methods, example, delete instead of post, exceeding payload limits, invalid authentication token. Question 2. What happens when you send a post request with missing required fields? Answer. The API should return a 400 bad request status code along with a message like error, validation failed. Details, email is a required field. Question 3. How do you test an API for incorrect HTTP methods? Answer. Send a request using an unsupported method, like using delete on an endpoint that supports only GET. Expected result. 405 method not allowed. Response header should include allow, GET. Question 4. What will you test in an authentication failure scenario? Answer. Scenarios include missing token, expired token, invalid token. Expected result. 401 unauthorized. Custom error message, error, invalid token or token expired. Question 5. How would you handle API testing when the input payload has the wrong data type? Answer. For example, sending age 25 instead of age 25. Expected result. 400 bad request. Message, age must be a number. This ensures schema validation is enforced at the API level. Question 6. What if an endpoint is hit with an extremely large payload? Answer. Test case. Upload large files or a JSON body with a huge dataset. Expected response. 413 payload too large. Error message. Payload exceeds maximum allowed size of 10 megabytes. Question 7. What kind of response do you expect if an endpoint is not available? Answer. If the endpoint does not exist or the URL is wrong. 404 not found. Custom message like, the requested endpoint API XYZ was not found. Question 8. What will happen if a malformed JSON is sent to the API? Answer. Send an invalid JSON body, example, missing a closing bracket or comma. Expected result. 400 bad request. Invalid JSON format, or parsing error response. Question 9. What negative scenarios would you test for query parameters? Answer. Missing required query params. Invalid values, example, page equals 1. Injection attempts. Expected response. 400 bad request or 422 unprocessable entity. Proper error handling message. Question 10. How do you test for rate limiting or throttling? Answer. Make repeated API calls in a short time beyond the allowed limit. Expected response. 429 too many requests. Retry after header or custom rate limit error message. Thanks for watching. Please like, share and subscribe the channel for more videos. Stay tuned. See you again.